Scenario 2: Barbarian Wars. You must unify the barbarian tribes of the north by conquering them. As in the previous mission, the enemy is not allied against you, but they have more resources at their disposal. You will win when you own all of the enemy castles and there are no more heroes left to fight. I get a choice of all 3 evil factions. I choose the barbarians. Well-placed bribes have won you a stronghold near the warring barbarians. Be advised that given their proximity, an unguarded castle is an open invitation to defeat. Time for the usual inspection. Our hero is called Elgan, the barbarian, has pathfinding and advanced, which should ease travel through rough terrain by a big margin. Our precious castle is called Westfolk and already has a well-mage guild and first 2 tiers of creature dwellings. Our first order of business is to build the statue, as is customary. I have received some nomads to aid my forces and will gladly incorporate them into my army. I have also just recruited the initial batch of goblins and orcs. Since spells are always nice to have, I invest in a spellbook for Elgan and let him learn Cure, Bless and View Minds. Some of you might be wondering why, given the choice between the factions, I went with the barbarians. The answer is unsurprising. It's because we will be facing many barbarian enemies in this mission, and taking castles from them. If I were to pick a different faction, I would either have to rely on a single castle for my army, or forsake the initial forces and switch to the plentiful barbarian units later on. Being a barbarian from the start allows me to add new units to the old ones, and as such, sidestep the issue entirely. Likely always being close to a castle belonging to my own faction. It also makes much more sense from a narrative perspective. It's one of the barbarian castles that has stood here for centuries, and we have merely bought the cooperation of a single tribe it belongs to. Elgan's tribe, I guess. Speaking of Elgan, I chose scouting over navigation when he leveled up. Back to Westfolk, I enlisted the help of a young barbarian named Jacqueline. She will assist Elgan in resource gathering and army management. Fortunately, the map is extremely small, so the distances we'll travel should be minuscule. Since scouting provides a flat 1 hex of extra visibility, the size of the map also means that we'll uncover a much larger percentage of it than if it was bigger. Back at Westfolk, the initial efforts at bolstering our army's might with additional types of troops continue, as I tame the nearby wolves. The chest levels Elgan up once more, and I take my beloved archery over equally as important leadership. The number of unguarded mines in our vicinity greatly pleases me. Oh, the nearby witch teaches pathfinding. How awkward that encounter must have been. Sit down, young one, for you still have much to learn, and I, ugly as I may be, have the knowledge essential to your success of the ancient art of pathfinding. Actually, yeah, I kinda have that covered already, responds Jacqueline uneasily. It's pretty much the only thing I do know how to traverse these perilous wastes. I haven't quite mastered it, but I'm getting close. Is there anything else you could teach me, though? I'm eager to learn. Poor old witch. I do wish I could recruit the trolls, but having to fight them first really puts me off. Instead, I'll erect an adobe in the castle of Westfolk, hoping to incorporate the mighty ogres into my army. The movement to the south is becoming worrisome. I sent Jacqueline to explore the southwestern region, but gain no additional insight into the movements of my enemy. With the bridge to live under, the trolls pledge allegiance to my cause. The pyramid's construction is prohibitively expensive, and thus I postpone it indefinitely. At this point, I wish to focus on upgrading the dwellings I already have, and the units along with them. I don't wish to embark on my quest only to be forced back to upgrade the troops soon after. With the stick hut upgraded, I now command a dozen orc chiefs. I get all the wolves, and conclude that my army is strong enough for me to engage the hostile forces in the region. I shall begin by making an example of the nearby peasants. Terrorizing the countryside is one of the most surefire ways to establish dread among the population. This is hardly a battle, truth be told, more so target practice for my orcs and trolls. Even though this victory was more of a warm-up exercise, it brought to my attention certain tactical imperfections present in my current formation. I shall mitigate them at once by switching the positions of my troops to keep the ranged units away from the center, and the entirety of the army close together. Scouring the rocky wasteland that is their homeland, the barbarians forage for resources, leaving no rock unturned. Back at Westfolk, I contemplate my next move and settle on upgrading the bridge. With both orcs and trolls unleashing their full potential, the enemy won't even reach my powerful melee units, although they might reach him if I decide to engage head-on. The reports of hostile warlords to the southwest and northeast are becoming unsettling as I contemplate my position between their armies. Regardless, I proceed to boost recruitment rates among the filthy goblins by reallocating the heaps of garbage to the vicinity of their habitats. The creatures seem to be rather fond of them, and it's a move that costs me little for the benefits it provides. Logistics or ballistics? I move all the time, siege castles only once in a while. Logistics it is. With a new week approaching, I make a decision to investigate the western territories immediately after receiving the reinforcements. Holding this off any longer would surely lead to my demise, as the enemies, though uncoordinated, would stream down to my fortress, pinning me down and putting me on the back foot. I can't allow that, and thus take the initiative into my own hands, inadvertently following the traditional barbarian style of relentless aggression. With the wind howling menacingly and crack hacks staring covetously at my foothold in these accursed wastelands, I set forth on my way, striking at the unruly orcs to the west to carve my path through the valley. Sacrificing the efficiency of the mighty siege weapons for mobility on this treacherous soil, I venture forth. Whittingham looms on the horizon, a refuge for the motley bands of uncivilized creatures that dwell in these lands. It shall be my first castle to conquer, as Elgon strikes with ferocity only a barbarian can muster. A single shot from the catapult opens up the path beyond the castle walls, where less than 24 goblins quake in fear at the onslaught they can't possibly stop. They give their lives up in a single desperate strike. My nomads cut them down mercilessly. Archer and advanced or basic ballistics, I'll take the former. I'm quite fond of my ranged attacks, even though this isn't necessarily my army's greatest strength. Whittingham lies bare at my feet. The city's unimpressive infrastructure is both apparent and unsurprising. Not a soul here that I could recruit. The newly mended walls provide temporary shelter from the elements, but nothing more. Westfolk is ripe with bloodthirsty creatures waiting for my call. Though my resources limit recruitment only to a pair of war trolls, things shall get better once the income from my second castle kicks in. North of Westfolk and west of Whittingham are the areas where my scouts have spotted enemy movement. Sabu is close by. I find the kinetic pendant in a nearby chest and decide to put the barbarian out of his misery presently. His forces are plentiful, but we shall overcome them. A lightning bolt is a good start, and I charge onward with my precious nomads, opting for this risky, aggressive tactic consciously. The multitude of goblins should be easy prey. The ogres are incredibly slow. The wolves are all but gone. I focus my efforts on cutting down the number of enemy orcs on the battlefield. As you can see, they were able to take down all of my trolls in a single attack. Deciding that time is of the essence, I cast haste on my goblins. They should have an easier time closing the distance now. The nomads block the orcs, cut down most of the goblins and generally position themselves well. I can't afford to turn the goblins around, so I seek the wolves at the wolves. The goblins are down, the wolves as well, the orcs are blocked, and it would be wise to focus on the ogres, which are sluggish yet mighty. My goblins alone don't stand a chance against them, though they do take out a few of their number. With the help of nomads, wolves and orcs, we should be able to prevail over them. And down they fall. Time to get rid of the orcs. A glorious victory indeed. Level up navigation or archery on expert. Even though I hardly have any ranged units at my disposal, it's a lot saner to take archery than to try and find a boat in this desert. We have just eliminated one of the barbarian leaders, by the way. Before I venture further into hostile land, I need additional troops. Lots of them. Our victory was a decisive but costly one. With archery in mind, I recruit the orcs first, though the order won't matter much in the end, since I want to get whatever troops I can. Since we're already here and the units aren't, I might as well take advantage of this opportunity and visit the Tree of Knowledge. Free level up. Logistics or leadership? Logistics. Death Ripple won't be of much use to me, but beggars can't be choosers. Sprites and water elementals block my path to additional resources up north, but at this point I do not have a large enough force to face them and come out with acceptable losses. I can, however, visit the gazebo. Contrary to what some uninitiated RPG players may think, gazebos do not pose a mortal threat to anyone. Back to Westfolk, I get the last Orc Chief, upgrade the trolls, and since I apparently can't upgrade the ADOB, I do not bother getting the regular ogres and settle for recruiting all the wolves instead, as well as half the goblins. The gazebo grants me experience and I'm on my way to rally some of the local goblins to my cause. 4 of them join, so much for popular support, I guess. I take my time, consider the possibilities. The reinforcements won't be here quite soon, so I have to make do with what little I have. I check how many skills Elgon has. He can acquire 4 new ones, so I take my chances and learn navigation. The northern passage looks promising, with a leprechaun, an orcish watchtower and a spell shrine there. But what makes it even more alluring is the promise of upcoming conquests in the land beyond it. Taking note of the fact that I have a substantial surplus of wood, I build a marketplace at Whittingham. Even with what little troops Elgon commands at this point, taking down rogues should be an easy task. I could cast a spell at this point, but I don't want to. I don't need to. The goblins can't reach anyone, but my other units should have no such trouble. The way to the old mine is now clear. Beyond it is located a camp of goblin traitors. They disperse in fear. The goblins are easily startled, but they will soon be back, and in greater numbers. I take scouting over diplomacy. It is a short-term gain of acquiring information faster that I choose over the potential long-term benefits of getting additional troops from random sources. It would be foolish to claim that one choice here is clearly superior to the other. They merely rely on different playstyles. Back at Westfolk, I finally upgrade the Adobe, so Ogre Lords will join my forces. For that to matter, however, I am going to need to transfer them to Elgan somehow. Since my territory has expanded, I elect to recruit another hero, Fundax the Barbarian, to aid me in my quest. Whittingham has no recruits to gather, but a new week is imminent, and I will reap its benefits soon enough. The Tree of Knowledge allows Fundax to master the craft of pathfinding. It should prove to be of much use, as I plan on sending him on errands all around the map as time goes on. With a new hero at hand to take care of every bit of work that doesn't necessitate a powerful army, Elgand can now focus his efforts on where he can be of use the most. Since I like being methodical, I decided that clearing out what's left of the southeastern area would be in order. This will also allow Elgand to get fresh new recruits soon enough, since he will be passing by Westfolk on his way there. Given a choice between scouting and ballistics, I give Fundax the former. I don't plan on sending him to lay siege to any castles, so even if the extra Hexavision doesn't come into play, I'm not really missing out. 5 Ogre Lords take a huge chunk out of my gold, and I cannot afford anything else. As the third week begins, I start finalizing my reinforcement arrangements. The pyramid is something I still cannot afford. Unlike the marketplace, which I can now use to trade resources for gold. Keep in mind that I have a second marketplace at Whittingham, so the exchange rates are slightly better. The extra gold allows me to recruit all the trolls and orcs I have left. I can now send Jacqueline to meet up with Elgon and go ahead with the transfer. I have 5 tiers of units for Elgon, and every hero has 5 spots for units. The nomads suddenly become an issue as they occupy one of said spots. Since I'm hesitant to get rid of them, I simply leave Jacqueline with the 5 Ogre Lords, which I will transfer at a later point in the game. Right now I send Fundax north to get all the resources and troops he can find. As for Elgon, I send him southeast to visit the gazebo. You might have noticed that I've left the gem mine unflagged. That's what Jacqueline is here for. Fundax meanwhile bullies the Replicon and attempts to learn Dispel Magic without owning a spellbook. Ooh. The enemy's alchemist shop. I wonder how much the enemy tribe is going to be upset when I cut off their supply of Quicksilver. In the meantime, I snatch everything I can with Elgon, getting experience left and right. I finally end up encountering a small group of bandits guarding the way east. Let's kill them. Cornered, they finally turn to face my army, which shall make short work of them. As you can see, I enjoy variety. One group got killed by trolls, one by goblins, one by orcs, one by nomads, and the final 10 of them got their throats ripped out by wolves. help dig. The pyramid is still not affordable, what a surprise. Oh, look who doesn't want his mercury supply taken away. We'll focus on that later. For now, I salvage some wood from a broken down cart and attack the sprites, electing not to pursue them. There's no glory in killing them. I will gladly incorporate the genies into my... Oh wait, I don't have any free spots. Oh well, I learn curse and attack the vampire lords to get that sweet free hat over there. Gotta get those hats. I bet this one is not only stylish but also grants magical powers. I can tell just by how pointy it was. Trust me people, if you see a hat this pointy, it is sure to improve your ability to wield arcane powers, I would know. Oh, the vampire battle! That's a completely different story, it's a sad affair really. I got screwed by terrain and my inability to maneuver around said terrain. As a result, my wolves and nomads are stuck uselessly below where all the action is going on. As my trolls and orcs hopelessly try to stab the bloodsuckers to death. Not my finest moment. Fortunately, it should be over soon. Minimal losses, a bit of experience to sweeten them up, level up, ballistics or diplomacy, ballistics. Guess what? I can't get the hat. I'm not enough of a leader to this guy, well too bad. It's not like I wanted it anyway. Who am I kidding? George has a menacing army, one that I would rather not face just yet, especially with Paul Fandax. As much as I'd love to get the zombies, I need to protect my castle, so I sent Elgan west, anticipating that George is going to head south and threaten Wintergam. After flagging the mine and rallying to Watchtower Orcs, Jacqueline is heading for Westfolk in an attempt to deliver reinforcements around the time Elgan will be traveling through the Southern Passage. Fandax heads back to the safety of Whittingham's vicinity. With very little units left to recruit, I get all the wolves and most of the ogre lords. To get the remaining two, I trade away some of my resources. There we go. Let's end the turn. What an interesting development. As you can see, George did not give chase. As such, I am free to fight the zombies with Elgan before heading out. As for Jacqueline, she is still going to deliver the reinforcements from Westfolk. Well, as you can see, I'm trading resources for crystals. I do intend on getting that pyramid very soon. However, the limiting factor happens to be gold. In a few days' time, however, I should have a sufficient sum to fund the construction. Time to face the undead. Of course I am going to fight them, what else did you expect? By the way, isn't it glorious that my forces are so imposing that even undead creatures who know no fear retreat at their sight? You can clearly see why that remains a rational response from even the least cognitively endowed animated corpse out there. I am an unstoppable force. Victory is ours. No losses, obviously. The treasure chest grants me 1,000 points of experience. And, aside from snatching the nearby piles of gold, I also take a sip from the nearby artesian spring. Mana points aren't the most useful thing to Elgan, but there's no reason not to have more of them, just in case. It is day 5, and I nearly have the 6,000 pieces of gold necessary to erect the pyramid. A day passes, and here we go. The mighty one-eyed beasts are at my disposal, or rather, will be as soon as I get more crystals. Back at Whittingham, I neither have the gold nor ore to build the bridge, so I will have to forsake that idea for now. Let's get more orcs. My time is running out as Elgan is about to embark on his journey very soon. Do notice the unfortunate fact that the only mine I have not flagged is the one supplying crystals. Believe it or not, I am never going to flag it, no matter how much sense that may seem to make. The Ogre Lords supplant the Nomads as the initial batch of units gets delivered to our main hero. I sent Fandex to get the outlying batch of precious minerals so I can at least get some Cyclops before departing. A lot of threatening movement to the northeast and northwest. I get the crystals, recruit the 2 Cyclopses. Only the goblins are left, so I mindlessly recruit the goblins, even though there are only 5 spots for units, so they will be of no use anyway and only take away from what little resources I have to recruit the next week's units. A crucial decision is made. I am heading north, more accurately, through the passage northeast of Westfolk. Georgios is there, and I intend on eliminating him. But before I do, let's get the units. You can almost hear the gears turning in my head. Where do I put the Cyclopses? Do I trade the goblins for them? But I've just recruited the goblins and there's 69 of them. Eventually I give up and just do the right thing. Jacqueline goes to Westfolk to get ready for tomorrow, which is going to be a busy day, as she will need to catch up to Elgan and deliver as many units as she can get with what little I will have to spend. Fandax is derping around to the southwest, getting some goblins of all units that he is almost certain to never deliver to anyone, in part because he is in the opposite corner of the map to where all the action is going on, in part because he hardly has anything worth delivering anyway. Apparently, it's only me and the Yellow Tribe. As the week of the badger begins, everything is clear. I head to Westfolk to recruit a single Cyclops and 10 Orcish chiefs. Afterwards, I begin frantically trading resources away. I get 4 more world trolls. This will have to suffice. I go to Elgan, who levels up and gets expert logistics over basic mysticism. Splendid. Now to get the units, the orcs, the cyclops, and the trolls. Take a look at what lies to the northeast. That's Weddington, which is about to become mine. The castle defenses are pitiful. 3 ogres and 11 times as many orcs. You call this an army? I call it an appetizer. Even with 60% of my troops unable to reach past the castle walls, I win the encounter with my ranged troops alone in a single turn. Tremble before the barbarian might, for I am the chosen one to unite the tribes of Crashaw. I cannot afford the units at Weddington. That's bad news. The good news is, after conquering the castle, there are still troops there. waiting for me to recruit them. Our enemy's economy must be atrociously bad. Seizing the opportunity, I sent Jacqueline to also benefit from the teachings of the old knight. Choosing logistics over ballistics, I improve her mobility. A crucial trait for this emissary of mine. I hesitate for a while. Should I send the girl south to Westfolk where all my forces await and from where she usually gathers the reinforcements? Should I perhaps relocate her into Weddington, taking into account that Elgan is bound to move further and further away from my starting position? Not interested in goblins. With no pyramid, upgraded dwellings, nor the funds to upgrade said dwellings, I recruit the only thing I can, the wolves. Thanks to scouting, it is hardly possible to blindside Elgan, and as such, I boldly march west, visiting the windmill on my way. Enemy mines litter my path and I flag down one of them. But do not bother going after the other, as I notice Georgios to the north. Unimpressed with what I've seen in Wellington, I recall Jacqueline back to Westfolk. Accordingly, Fandax visits Whittingham and upgrades the orcs from the watchtower, recruiting a few more and leaving me with 6 pieces of gold to my name. A gold mine catches my eye, but so does Atlas. In a move many of you may find surprising, I decide to ignore the ultimate resource and head southwest. Flagging the sawmill, but more importantly cutting off Atlas's path to Whittingham. I will not stand idly by as enemy warlords take over my castles. Even if it costs me some income, I will much rather take the initiative now over a vague promise of reinforcements sometime down the line. Accordingly, I don't even bother with additional Cyclopses. I grab what I can from Westfolk and realize that even if Jacqueline sets out immediately, she will never reach Elgan in time. There is simply no point in trying to bring him more units. I attack Atlas, knowing that what I have will have to suffice for the rest of the mission. Fortunately, Atlas's forces are rather unimposing. Utilizing the mana points I have doubled earlier on, I cast a lightning bolt to get rid of the only ranged enemy unit on the battlefield. Marching fearlessly onward, the Cyclopses incinerate the nomads. The goblins fall to the orcs, and Atlas flees before my mind. Yes, it truly is one of the best things in life, to crush your enemies and see them driven before you, though I distinctly missed the lamentation of the women. To me, that was the most enjoyable part. Either way, the castle of Brownstone is to the north. A road leads me straight to it, and tomorrow I shall claim it in my name. At this point, it is fairly obvious that this is the final castle I need to conquer. Sabo is not going to dissuade me, unlike Atlas. He won't even be able to run away. Perfect. Is this all you've got? I take one troll down with a lightning bolt. The wolves approach the wall, which I shall soon breach. I get rid of the orcs and the wolves. The drawbridge is now conveniently lowered, so my Cyclopses get to march straight inside. I use Cold Ray to bring down the final troll. Kill 7 ogres in one strike of my trolls. The goblins go down. And so do the ogres finally, 4 world trolls lost. It was well worth it because now I control every stronghold in the region. Level up, leadership or diplomacy, leadership. The time for diplomacy is long past. George and his army is there to the west, cowering in fear as my mighty army has driven him from his homeland. I entered Brownstone expecting little but finding a lot. There are 11 trolls under the local bridge and I can afford to upgrade that bridge. I do so. I get 7 of them. And trade what little resources I have left to get the 4 remaining ones. Once I'm done, I march outside and strike at George, the coward who has evaded my wrath far too long. His forces are no match for mine. I lead the attack with my wolves. His sorceress ways don't faze me. By sending his forces against my wolves, he left them exposed to the attack of other, even more ferocious beasts, the monstrous Cyclops. The ogres are slow but mighty. High morale among my troops allows them to close the distance earlier than expected, slicing the 2 remaining wolves into bits. The skeletons fall to the orcs. Only goblins and a handful of nomads remain between me and ultimate victory. I focus my efforts on the goblins with a spell, 2 attacks from the wolves, and 1 finishing blow from the Cyclops. The nomads are slain by the mighty axes of my ogres. Victory is mine. I receive the compass, a medal, a golden watch, traveler's boots of mobility. It is over!
I have a decision to make. It has come to my attention that Roland has struck an alliance with the King of the Dwarves. I am certain you recognize the potential danger this alliance presents to our position. At the same time, I have received a plea for help from the Necromancers Guild. It seems that the Wizards Guild has moved against their ancient rivals, while they believe the royal forces to be otherwise occupied. The question I put to you, my general, is shall we shatter the Dwarven Alliance, or shall we rescue the Necromancers Guild?